going on. And I'm going to do a review of this tape, which is an album. It's the Crusaders Street Life album back from '79. And what can I say about this record? This was one of those records that truly introduced me as a youngin to jazz R&B hybrid music, which left a lasting impact on me. And you know, just the first song alone is just so timeless in my mind. Where do I begin? It started my love of the Crusaders. They're my favorite all-time jazz band. My love of Joe Sample, the late great who passed in 2014, who's my all-time favorite keyboardist. And Wilton Filter was a great versatile musician, and Styx Hopper and all those guys, and Leon Nuji Chandler who came through there, and all the great musicians who were associated. Like Larry Carlton played on the guitar on some of their stuff. I mean, Wayne Henderson, just a long line of the greatness of the Crusaders, and Stuart Levin, who did some of the productions and all that. But this record, and where do I start? The title track alone just blew me away then, as it still does. You know, when you're a young kid, you don't really understand the wholeness of street life and the wholeness of what the song's about. But to have an unknown at the time, Randy Crawford, who's one of my all-time favorite female vocalists, and who I feel is truly unsung. Oh, when she sung that song, she sung that song like rent was due like in an hour, and I got 5 minutes to get this right and get that money, and that's how the urgency and the potent of that, and those arrangements and that groove and that trademark Crusader sound. Um, they were one of the few jazz acts who could really blend the best of both worlds with uh, dancing and tapping into R&B. There was a taboo. There was jazz purists who did not like the hybrid, but the Crusaders could hold their own. They could balance both worlds, much along the way Miles Davis did it with his fusion and Herbie Hancock and Return to Forever. But the Crusaders had truly what we call a real laid back West Coast sound, and you always knew the distinctiveness with their music and their playing. Like Stepping on Rodeo Drive, which you can see on the album cover, and the Rodeo Drive, that's a stepper song, and they have so many textures and layers on this album of songs that just capture a mood, capture a groove, capture a time. Um, it's like one of those records that it was truly a turning point for their careers, commercially, and just what they could do, and no boundaries. And it's truly one of those um, albums that I would say that you can hear it all the way through, and you can definitely get into the groove of what they were about and how it still sounds so good. It was truly like one of those game changing. And Joe Sample, as a matter of fact, had done some session work at that prior with it, and with Steely Dan on their Jar album. And some of those layering, they had a certain vamp. You always knew that Crusaders vamp, and it just like it all came together on this record, you know. And this is one of those records that just, it's still smooth and it's strongly arranged. The musicianship was very detailed, and you could tell it was a game changer. You could really tell it was a game changer. So it's one of those records that truly left a lasting impression. But just the title song alone, Street Life is one of the greatest songs I've heard over the last 40 plus years. And one of those songs that haunting, potent, powerful, message, very real, um, very detailed, and still applies today. And but this was a strong record overall. And if you get a chance, check it out. It's a classic from 1979, the legendary Crusaders. And I don't say that about a lot of acts, but you always knew a Crusaders record when you heard it, and you always knew the touch of the musicianship. You always knew Joe Samples had a very distinctive tone, and Wilton Filter and Styx Hooper. You just knew these guys, and all the musicianship that was associated with the Crusaders. It didn't sound like anybody else. They had their own vamp, their own blend of groove, and their own musical gumbo. So that's my take on the Crusaders of Street Life from 1979. Feel free to give me your thoughts, your takes, your comments. If you're a fellow Crusaders fan, speak up. Feel free. Let's talk. What did this album mean to you? Also, your thoughts on their music with and without the band, the concepts and the context, and how other albums that they did afterwards sounded, and did they balance out the jazz, R&B, fusion scene, and that they were like across somewhere in the middle between what Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock were doing and George Benson. So let's get at it. All right, have a great day and keep listening to the great music. And let's remember, music is a very strong spiritual cleansing. Peace.